Yes.
No, we don't have to
Okay, everyone say hi to Angela.
Hi,
Hi,
Angela.
Angela.
Excuse me, so I'll put this over here. It's BRB.
Verb. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So.
I'm getting a haircut tomorrow, so appreciate this hair salon if I can.
You.
Everyone thinks it's a you.
I cry every time.
I'm not the only one who needs that exam.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I've been reading a lot more about like what's going on lately, like in the US and Canada, and there's just seeing a lot of people, the way they interact online is just so incredibly toxic. So, but there was this one article that a girl wrote, and she was saying how, she really cared about, social justice issues, but the church seemed to ignore them or refuse to discuss them because they didn't know how to discuss them or they just didn't care about it. And I think, like, we should be concerned with, like, justice issues. Yes, we should. We should, because the Lord says we should care for the widows and orphans and the people who are in need, and we should help each other. And so, yeah, and I think, like, even though God created, like, many races, he never wanted us to discriminate each other like people are doing. So I definitely think, like, we should talk about, like, how we should approach these things, because these are important issues, and it's not like we don't care or we don't know what to teach about it. Like, we do know, so let's talk about it, right? Yeah, so then that's why I thought, like, it would be interesting to have, like, a discussion like this. I think we did something similar before, but yeah, this time we want to talk about, like, specifically, like, social justice issues and the way people, like, kind of converse with each other nowadays, and how to, like, respond when, like, people are, like, being toxic toward each other online, So yeah, what topics do you guys want to start with? Anyone has one off the top of their head, or the people who made lists can pull out their lists.
Go along with whatever.
You have a list now?
Naya, give us one.
I think maybe double standards.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what sense? Give us an example.
Like how? Okay, like for example, feminism. Right?
Mhm.
Like I can make a joke about men, but you can't make a joke about me, or like stuff like that.
I think that current feminism is very different than feminism from when I was younger. Yes, I'm very old. So like me and Melissa were talking about this actually yesterday, and we were kind of like getting into it, and we're like, no, save it for like tomorrow. Yeah, so feminism back in the day, I viewed it as like, I see a lot of like men characters in the movies and culture, and they're all like in these really like badass roles kind of thing. And I was like, girls should be badass like that too. Like we should be able to, like display strength like men do, and, do these like dangerous like, actions in these action scenes or whatever. Like women should be more represented. So whenever there's movies such as like Charlie's Angels, that like the 3 spies were girls, and I would like love those movies because I'm like, I'm very like girl power. Like I'm very much like a feminist person, right? But that was like maybe more than 10 years ago. But like the way feminism is going now is basically this whole movement is giving women the right to trample men. It's making them feel more superior than men. They are literally saying, like, white boys should not be allowed to talk. How is that equality, right? Because we were talking about how they also want to push equality. That means men and women are equal. All people are equal. All races are equal, right? Yet they're saying white boys should not talk. How is that not racism? How is that not sexism, right? Like, you are literally advocating for equality, but you are doing the complete opposite of that. So, I feel like, Satan has gone about this in a way where he slowly changes the way people think to this point where suddenly, like, everything's really toxic, but no one realizes that they're being toxic, you know? They're like, I'm just defending my rights. I'm just defending feminism, but they don't realize that as a result of defending feminism, they're actually being sexist and racist, right? So I think this double standard is just a lot of people not reflecting their actions and not realizing that they're actually hurting a lot of people. And I think, like, if we think about it in a way that of like, how do we guard against like being like that ourselves, right? And if I think like you always treat people with like, how does Jesus see them, and how would Jesus want me to talk to this person? I guarantee you, there's no way you're gonna be sexist or racist because Jesus like doesn't do those things, right? If you're acting out of love, it will never be that like that. Right? Because it also says, even if you're pointing out when someone's like doing something wrong, right? It still says to point it out of love. That means not using labels when you're talking to them, right? It's like, can you not be so sexist? No, you don't say that. It's like, oh, that was kind of disrespectful to this other person. Or like, you could say it, maybe if you tried saying it this way, it would be better. Like, there are better ways to like even confronting someone about some behavior that they're doing. You don't have to call them those names, right? You can just tell them, hey, there's a better way. You can consider doing this. I think if you do this, like, it will be better for everyone, right? And I really think like if you talk to them that way, if they brush you off, that's fine, whatever. But you did your part. You acted as Jesus would want you to act, right? So I think like rule of thumb, like, always just think about like how would Jesus react in this situation. And if you see people doing that, I think like pick your battles, because right now it's actually quite ferocious out there. People will gang up on you, like, for sure, guaranteed. So pick your battles. If you see like you can like not get killed in a situation, you can be like, hey, maybe we should try not using labels, right? Because we don't want others to label us, right? So why would we label others then? Like, there's this one friend of mine who, like, she was talking about some high school teacher she had, and she's like, he's a white male, he's like entitled, privileged. And I was just thinking to myself, what if someone just referred to you by calling you opinionated Asian girl that was fortunate enough to be a third generation immigrant who has all the perks of Canada, right? Like, imagine if you were reduced to that name. Like, do you want that for yourself? Like, no, you don't want people to call you that, so don't call other people those things either. Yeah, so I think like labeling is a huge no-no because, yeah, again, like yesterday we were talking about, do you know who Morgan Freeman is?
Yeah,
the actor, right?
Just a little.
Yeah. So he once said that the way to eradicate racism is to stop talking about it. And he's right, because when you keep talking about race, when you keep referring to races, the word race, or even like Asian, Caucasian, whatever, you are like actively like not like exactly labeling, but you're like actively like recognizing that we are kind of separate from each other. But if you don't refer to that and you just refer to each person as like people, right? Then actually racism just disappears because it never gets brought up. It's never a thing, right? And I think that's the same thing with like feminism, right? I think like if we keep referring to like, oh, the men, the woman, you know, we keep saying these things that keep making a deeper divide between us. And I think like we should always be talking in a way of like all of us as one, all of us as God's children, rather than like, oh, those people or these people or us, you know, how we identify. But yeah, but I think double standard is so rampant. They're literally doing exactly opposite of what they think they're doing, but they just are so blinded by Satan they don't realize that's what they're doing. And when they get pointed out, the moment, like, they argue like so hard because deep down they know they're wrong, but they don't want to admit it. So they just keep using like other facts and other ways to attack you to you know, keep their opinion up. They don't want to admit that like, yeah, we actually hurt people while doing this. They can't, Because if they recognize that, then they're equally as bad as the people they're labeling, right? That they're admitting that they're equally as bad. So they will fight really hard to say that, no, that's not what we're doing. And then they will even Facebook stalk people to say like, oh, he's a Trump supporter. Like it clearly says on his Facebook profile, right? I go on the profile, there's nothing that says he supports Trump. But then you go into deep stalking, and then there's one group that he's a part of that says help Trump get reelected to 2020, right? I'm just like, you had to do hardcore digging. You were looking for something to destroy this person with. And I feel like in law, they would use that if they have nothing else to use against you. They actually can't fight you. They can't win. So they'll find something else to drag your name down with. So they actually have no basis for what they're arguing over, and they will try to use these things to break down and try to say that, oh, you're racist, because you support these things, so you're a terrible person, and then devalue your voice so that they can maintain their construct and their world of what they like to do. But it's all fake. It's all fake. So anything you hear from media, anything you see on social media, anything, especially what teachers are talking about, friends are talking about, they're all lies. They are all lies. If you look a little bit deeper into any one of those topics, you will see that it's so toxic and they are not doing any good to this world. So yeah. Hello. Yeah. Okay, other people can weigh in regarding double standards. Have you guys seen it happening?
I guess people getting this is a little off topic, but I saw in Google News it said something about a man sues their parents because they didn't get consent to give birth to them.
I was so funny. I was just kind of just laughing inside.
Wait.
Is that person trolling? I think.
I think it's a yeah.
So the guy.
It's a satirical story.
Yeah,
I think.
I feel like he's making a point about society.
Yeah. It's this is how messed up it is.
I mean, if he's actually doing it, nobody's trying to make a point.
I think he's trying to make a point. I don't think anyone's that whack.
Yeah, Amrit, what were you saying?
What was the article? The kid sues his parents because of...
Because he didn't give consent to be born.
Okay. My bio teacher was talking about some stupid stuff, and then she was like, "Oh, there's these parents that are like, oh yeah, we can't wipe our babies' butts because they didn't give us consent."
So
I'm just
stupid.
Huh?
Yeah, can you pass me your plate so I can cake?
Babies, right? They need to get clean.
Yeah.
But then, these parents were like, oh yeah, the baby can't give consent to us. We always have to ask for consent before we clean them.
Yeah.
I'm
Me too.
Yeah.
no. I'm like, no.
I mean, the baby won't mind if the baby doesn't know, right?
I think this is fundamentally what is right and wrong, right? If you teach a child that they have the choice to do things that are not good for them, I don't know, what are you trying to do, right? For example, they want to teach children starting from age 5 about what being gay and bi is. This is their agenda. I don't know how much of it that they've started doing in the world, but they're planning to what they call comprehensive sex education. And they want to push even from age 5. They need to be able to name all the different genders and sexual identities, and then be able to recognize that people who have 2 moms and 2 dads are completely normal. And then at age 9 to 12 they're at that point they're gonna teach them that you have the choice to become sexually active. And I was excuse me, what?
I feel even from not even from a Christian standpoint.
Yeah.
If you were to teach kids about those things, then you would kind of be sexualizing children.
You are
extremely
exactly
weird.
Yes.
Not even from a Christian standpoint. That's very questionable.
They just want their
No,
children
you
to have
shouldn't-
children.
You shouldn't have children learn that at such a young age because they will do it.
Yes.
If they know what it is, they will do it.
Yeah, and if you're teaching them the wrong way, as in what is sex for, right? obviously they're like, oh, it results in reproduction. Like, great, okay. But then they're not like, it is for you to strengthen your marriage in the future, right? They don't teach that. That's only the Bible teaches that. School never teaches that.
Kids at 10, they can't
Yeah, I know.
Kids at 10.
Yeah. And then if you tell the children, like, hey, there's this thing that your body does and it feels good. What do you think they're going to do with that? They're going to go do it, right? Like, so it's like, I can't.
Like, I learned, like, a little bit, like, just a touch of this stuff in grade 6. And I still wish I did not learn it in grade 6.
It's actually the most awkward thing ever. It's pretty bad.
I hated
No,
it.
but that's the old system. They're going to turn it into a new system
well,
that's
the old
even
system
worse.
was
The whole system
basically-
was bad already.
It was,
Yeah.
What it was basically, hey, these are your body parts. This is what they do. When you guys get
Yeah.
older, this is what's gonna happen to you.
Yeah.
Basically, what it was. But by the time we get to grade 6, they separate guys and girls. But like
Yeah.
in the 3rd, 4th grade, they
Yeah.
have them everyone
Together.
together. But like,
Oh, we didn't do it.
But do they teach you guys, like, do they emphasize on, like, trying not to, like, engage in these activities? Or do they say, like, oh, you can totally do it, just be safe?
I
So-
wasn't paying attention at all.
Good.
I went to Christian school, and they said, don't do it underage.
Yeah.
Well, in high school, they're more like they're very heavy on consent, but they don't say stuff like "don't do it."
they're saying like for me, like we had a
Because they know
class
they're gonna do it.
separating
anyway.
guys and girls, and like I was told like from my friends in the other girls' class, they're telling me what they talked about. Like you just traded information. Basically, it's them saying, you know, you guys are like at that age where you're curious, right? And they're basically like, yeah, it's okay to like touch yourself and all that kind of stuff. Like it's healthy, and I'm just like,
What?
that kind of stuff is what they teach at.
I have
This is like grade 11 though, but like,
Okay, right after Amron.
but yeah, just stuff like that. They don't say. They're like if you are gonna do it, just please be safe.
Yeah.
Like in grade 10, they teach us all about like safety and everything and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they're
Oh, the
like
big
we're not gonna encourage it,
Yeah.
but this is how you stay safe.
Yeah.
So that's basically
Yeah.
what they do teach you when you're older. They don't like say, yeah, go for it, go ahead, do it, have fun. No, they're just like stay safe.
Yeah.
That's their biggest concern.
Yeah. Isaiah.
like back to feminism. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of kids don't really understand what it is.
Mm.
Because there's this girl in my class that she's like, she openly says like, oh, you know, like men, like we should have like equal rights, but then it goes off saying like, you know what, boys do this and boys do that and boys do this and boys do that. I'm like, can you not bash us? Because
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That-
It's actually really hard to be a man right now.
It's bad because like people are like, yeah, but guys do this and that. I'm like, no, but you're going off the example of really bad guys, and you're totally ignoring the really good guys out there, and you're just like literally kicking them in the dirt and rubbing their face in there, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Just being unfair and judgmental.
Yeah.
He's like, boys can reveal their breasts. Why can't girls? I'm like,
Oh
can
my
you not?
god!
Because I don't want. I don't do that. Okay, like honestly, like when I go to my friend's swimming pool, I don't even like take off my shirt. I'm gonna jump in with a shirt on because like no, thank you.
You don't need to do that.
I
Yeah,
know.
you don't need to do that.
But I don't want to. I'm just like,
Oh.
ugh. I'm just like,
See,
That's
I
not
think you're like
good.
low-key letting it affect you right now.
no, it's just that.
I know, but like, you don't need to.
Yeah, but
I don't
like,
think we should modify our behavior based on what
Yeah.
culture is doing. If we know that we're not doing anything wrong, we shouldn't have to do that.
yeah, but
I
I'm
don't
just-
think we should.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it does fuel that movement, and then now they're like, see, he's covering it, you should all cover it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
but, like, you know, you do what's comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Like, you just ask yourself and, like,
Yeah.
whatever, right? Yeah.
So then there's this girl in our class going off about that. I'm like, if the teacher catches you saying this, I don't know how he'll react. I think that the teacher won't react like really well, but at the same time, I'm scared that if he does react not really well, he's gonna get he might get like get in big trouble for saying that. So then right now our class, I just avoid going on these topics
Yeah.
because whenever someone brings it up, I'm like, okay, switch topics.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Do they advocate for equal rights, you know,
Yes.
in North America or in poorer countries, other countries?
And everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that we don't have equal rights in North America?
I think it's
I think it's pretty equal. If you
Do
ask me.
girls
I don't
think
think
that
it's equal.
we have like negative effect because we're girls.
Okay, I don't think girls do. If you
I
ask
think
me.
they're just like
But at the same time,
they're almost like playing victims to the point
Yes.
where they're turning to like oppressors, kind of. if
Yes,
that makes
definitely.
sense.
Like very much so.
yeah, but I don't know. But I don't know all the laws and all that stuff about on girls, so I can't say
Yeah.
anything. But
I think
to
in-
what I know,
Mm.
I think that's pretty equal to what I know.
I agree. I think in Canada, men and women have equal rights. There is no rules, no laws that actually detract from any girls competing with guys. Now, when companies hire according to stereotypes and how they feel against men and women, this is a kind of more of an HR issue. It depends on your HR and how they like interview and hire people, right? So individual companies may be a little bit sexist in the sense that like, oh, we just think men will do this job better, but that's not on a government level, so that's not a rights thing. That's more of like a private company, private rules kind of thing. So I think
it's fine because like it's your business. You do what you
exactly.
want.
So if we were to look at it that way, do men and women have equal rights in Canada and
Yes.
equal opportunities? Yes, very much so. At every job I was at, I always had very, very good opportunities. People always wanted me to move up in the job. They never valued men's work more than they valued my work. In fact, a lot of the guys I work with are kind of like not that capable. So they're always like, you kind of suck, which is, we're going to let the girls do the heavy weight carrying, right? So I was like, in my work experience, girls always excelled. I can easily excel. And I was never like in competition with a guy for a certain position because he was a guy and I was a girl. That was never the case. So to me, personally, it is a little bit harder for me to grasp like why people think there's sexism, why people think there's inequality. I do think that like individual people, men can treat women in the workplace inappropriately. Yes, that does happen, but that is, again, you need the company to set stricter rules, right? And for there to be like better supervision in terms of like workplace morale. Again, that is not the government doing this. That is like within the business like workplace. That is something that needs to be overseen by, the company and not the government. So I think like on a government level, we don't have inequality. In the workplace, I think feminism is an excuse to be really weak. Because when men make a comment at you, and you're immediately like, oh, I'm offended. They're like playing victim, right? And it's so weak. It's weak because if I was strong, like emotionally strong and strong on the inside, what would I do when they say that to me? Disregard. I don't care. That's not who I am, right? So even if you said it 100 times, that doesn't change who I am, right? So like, yeah, I think feminism is just like a bunch of really lost people who don't know their true identity. They don't know their worth. So then anything anyone says to them dictates how they feel about themselves. And that triggers them, right? Yeah, but like I really don't think we have inequality here. But if they want to advocate for inequality, like overseas, like in Africa, because like they literally mutilate girls there, right? I was just reading about this. It is actually their tradition to mutilate girls because they're like, you're dirty if you don't get mutilated, and I'm just like, that is so not a thing. Okay, that's just like how the Chinese people like tied their feet, but then they mutilate girls instead. And I was like, that is actually horrific. That we do need to help those people, right? Like, I don't know, bring the gospel there, bring news of what human standards are there, kind of educate them, right?
You should stop feeling sorry for herself.
Exactly.
When there's
Yeah.
so many bigger problems. in the third world.
So that is actually inequality, where they're being treated inhumanely, right? And that is always like below like the main argument is always like, oh, we have inequality in the workplace in North America. I'm like, okay, there is actually no inequality here. Please look at the other poor countries who actually have inequality. So
People are just dumb.
people really are. So I think we should really care about those types of inequality where people are being mutilated, girls are being treated as like worthless people, and we do need to like find ways to like help bring like Jesus' love to them and be like, hey, you're worthy, you're loved. Like people actually, like you have a savior who cares for you so much that he would sacrifice himself for you, and you're not just a piece of meat. You're not just like a mom who's just there to like bear children and like suffer all your life. Like there is so much more for you than that, right? And I think like that's truly fighting for against inequality. That is truly like empowering women and like rooting like true feminism is like that, when you like really help the weak woman, the woman who are actually weak, not the victim fake weak woman. Yeah.
Like right now, I guess that if you're like a white man, it's gonna be quite hard for you.
Super. Like if you even like say anything to anyone, that's potentially someone's gonna accuse you of something.
What can we do about it? Because like I know we're talking about it, but like
Yeah.
what can we do about it?
I think if you equip yourself with the correct knowledge and know your stuff, you can easily argue your own battles. But I think after a certain point, people just keep screaming in your face so much that it's so hard to fight against them that there isn't really much you can do.
Yeah. I think at this point we need to remember, like it says in the Bible, that our fight is not against flesh and blood, but it's in the spiritual realm. So true, because if you try to fight like in a conversation, it actually doesn't work. You cannot speak reason into them. It doesn't work. So, and we're at a point where leftists are actually like starting to get even more and more violent, like progressively more violent towards people who they disagree with. Like they're not only just using words, but they're actually using some force against people. So I would say, like, you know, when you see it happening, pray for them. Because when you're praying, then you are stirring something in the spiritual realm, right? Which where the actual battle is. And I think when you see that, you can kind of like, I don't know, you can gather it as like prayer fuel for yourself. And when you're praying, then you can be like, you know, God, like I just saw this happen, I saw this happen, I saw all of these injustices happening in the world, and you know, that's really wrong and that hurts me, and I know it hurts your heart, right? So like I just want to ask you to like move and do something here, and like because this situation is just not acceptable, right? So like I think what we should do is not engage, because right now it's not even possible anymore. So don't engage. Like if it's people like Christian people, okay, they might have a little bit of reason, then you can tell them something like, hey, let's not use labels, because we wouldn't want to be labeled, right? And you can kind of say it that way, but like, yeah, I would say like if someone's like screaming about it, don't like try to interrupt them and be like, actually, what real feminism is helping the mutilate girls, and you're just like, shut up, right? So like when they're going off, just be like, Lord, they're just displaying their craziness again. Please help them. Also help me not go crazy while I have to sit through this conversation.
Thank you, next.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So like always be learning from people around you. And like I feel like when I read these, like I do get affected by it, but in the way of like for a while I just shut everything off. I don't want to read it at all. But now I'm reading it and I'm just like seeing the state of the world, right? Because how can you fight against it if you don't know like what the state of the world is, right? Because like prior to reading these stuff, I would say like, oh yeah, we can try to promote like, you know, oh, let's treat everyone with love, let's try not to say anything that's not loving, right? That actually doesn't work, as per that exchange that I saw on Facebook the other day, where the Asians actually started being racist towards someone and tried to kick that person out of that Facebook group because they're like, this is an Asian space. We are supposed to be safe and accepted here. This is our culture. You can't be here. And I'm like, no, when we create these groups, like we welcome other people because we want to share our culture with each other, right? We don't want to be like, oh, we're being exclusive. Like, that is racism. You know, like, we keep saying that other people are racist, like, white people are racist. Do you know how racist Chinese people are?
Yeah.
We
Yes.
literally call them white devils.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gui Lao, or, like, whatever, right? Like, we
Yep.
actually call them, like, white devils. So, like, Chinese people are so
You know
racist.
where the terms come from? Because
No.
in Qing Dynasty, like
Yeah.
lots of people, I think England, America,
Mhm.
Russia, lots of white people invade China and
Mm.
killing lots of Chinese people,
Mm.
like doing lots of terrible things. Then the Chinese at that time called them like white devil because
Mm.
they were actually being devils.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Mm.
Yeah, but it's being carried on without people actually understanding what it
Yeah,
means.
I think it's
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just like-
definitely.
mostly
And I think-
mostly like old people like calling them like
Mm.
more like young.
No, the young people do too. So many Cantonese
Really?
people, they call everyone Guai Lao.
Bro, but they're the people who decide to immigrate.
I know!
They're like,
You immigrated to the Guai Lao's country and you're calling them Guai Lao. How rude are you? So, like, nothing makes sense anymore. Do you understand? Like, nothing in the world is actually making any more sense.
Like when those people saying 鬼佬 these kind
Yeah.
of terms, they are not actually being racist because they were told to calling those people 鬼佬when they grow up, like all your friends, your family was
No, but they
saying those
call them
terms.
in the way of, like, they're dumb.
Oh really?
Like all the stupid Guai Laos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not that's
Yeah.
unreasonable.
Yeah,
That's not
exactly.
suitable,
Yeah. And, like,
That's stupid.
you know that whole stigma about, like, if you're Asian and then you get a white boyfriend, that's just like, oh, like your family is gonna explode, right? No, but traditional Chinese family, like, if that
Indian
happens,
families like my dad was so against
yeah.
anyone other than Indian girls for the
Oh.
longest time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
bad. Like when he found out me and Jubilee first started dating, he's
Yeah.
just like, "Can you please find an Indian girl?" It's like, "Wow, Dad, thanks."
Yeah, so you see, like, the white people aren't the most racist people. Like, everyone's racist.
I
Like,
find it also weird though, like people like immigrate here,
yeah.
want to be included in the country, but then they turn around and start being. Like they don't want to include. It's like you fought so hard to be included. Now that you're included, you don't
Yeah.
want to include others,
Yeah.
right? You want to say, "No, get out of here.
Yeah.
Only us people." You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's another thing of like double standards.
Mm.
You want to be included, but you
So
don't want to include.
oh, this is kind of off topic, but like indigenous people, like I don't know, like the school is so like into like like being like this is their country. We need everyday announcements. They're thanking the indigenous.
Oh my
They're
god!
like, what was it? They're like, "Good morning, Brewery Mountain.
We want to
want to thank
thank the
the
Coast
Salish
Salish Nation
nations
of Musqueam,
something,
on whose territory we
teach,
speak for them.
live, and learn, and live. or
Live.
That
something
is
every
so
single day.
triggering for me.
Like-
That triggers me.
Like I get that they want to. Sorry, Nigel.
Yeah,
it's
go.
okay. It's okay. Go.
Okay, finish your thought.
I
Yeah.
get that they want to thank them, I guess,
Mhm.
but like, like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird when you do it like every single day,
Yeah.
and like that's
Oh
all.
my god, you should join the group that does the announcement and just praise Jesus.
Want to thank you, Jesus, for giving us a school to study
We
in.
wanna
For
thank the-
creating earth.
Yeah. We want to thank the Lord for which this country was built upon.
Yeah.
Trust in the Lord.
We created the territory. We teach
God to
them.
keep our land,
Yeah. We want to thank the
Creator
Lord
of
for
earth.
creating the earth and then placing the indigenous people there
Okay.
from which we took their land.
I mean, I think it's one thing to apologize, like
Yeah. Yeah.
whoever came here first messed up big time, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
come
yeah.
over big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And they should be saying sorry, but
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Going to the extent of saying sorry every single day on the announcements.
That's
is a bit-
disgusting.
it's
That
too
is
much.
disgusting.
And
It's
they're also,
literally
like,
kissing their butt.
Yeah, it's also
You know?
it's not like they're doing anything either. They're just
Yeah.
saying like, "Oh, sorry, whatever. This is what
Yeah,
happened. We're
there's
just
no-
gonna keep saying sorry."
It's like
to you."
someone comes to your house, eats your food, and then you don't have any food left, and then they're like, "Thanks for dinner," and you
Thanks
have
for
nothing left
dinner,
to eat,
and-
and they just constantly say, "Thanks for dinner."
Or like, sorry, I ate your dinner.
yeah,
like,
and they'd be
every
like,
time.
"Well, where's my dinner? I still have nothing to eat. Thanks.
You
Thanks
mean,
so
Mom?
much. Please leave my house."
Examples always food.
Yeah.
People eating your food.
No, I agree. I think to actually help the indigenous people, jobs,
Mm-hmm.
giving them more opportunity, rehab programs,
It's so like
introducing
They
the
do-
Lord to
yeah,
them.
they do have programs, but like, I just don't get what they're trying to do here because they already like screwed them over.
Yeah.
And then they're not doing like the stuff. That
Are we
they're doing
gonna
is so
are we gonna tear down our buildings and vacate the land? Because that's retribution. That's giving the land back to who owns it, right? Are we gonna do that? We're not. So then this is just how it's gonna be. Like, we should just live with it,
I
right?
don't know if you guys have like seen this yourself. Like for me going through school, I've like went to school with like 2 guys who are indigenous, right?
Yeah.
But then I had such a hard time feeling bad for the people when I
Yeah.
met them because
Yeah.
of their attitudes and work
Mhm,
ethics, and I've heard about it about a lot of indigenous
Mhm.
people. Like my friend's entire schooling was paid for, all 40K of his tuition, but he
Mhm.
threw it all out the window because you don't have to sit there and play games and show up late to every
Yeah.
class. And like, it's not even just that. Like a lot of indigenous kids I've heard about will go to school slack because it's a free ride for them.
Yeah.
And then like it's like people are saying sorry to you, like, and then like you're throwing these opportunities that you're given out the window, and it's so hard to feel bad for people like that, you know? It's just
I think-
like,
That's
That is a result of them being the later generations of the people who actually had the suffering.
yeah,
Because if we're apologizing to the people who actually had the suffering, then that would make more sense. But if we're like over the top, like apologizing and giving opportunities to the younger generation, they don't have to work anything for it. So they will just like turn around and become entitled, right?
yeah. Government
So-
pays for all of their stuff.
The thing is, like, I feel like, yes, government should assist, right? But even more importantly, the church should be handling this. The church should be, like, just, like, spreading the gospel. Because, like, if they're doing drugs and drinking alcohol constantly and throwing their lives away, who can fix that? No one. The Lord can fix that, right? So, like, what they need is, like, they need to know Jesus.
But I feel like most of them might actually be against the Lord because, like,
I agree, because they worship, like, nature
Not
and...
just that, but like, weren't they like forced into these like schools?
Yeah, they were, and the Catholic nuns were
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
really bad. And then, like,
Reservation.
Yeah.
Not reservation schools.
Reformation.
No, what were they
no,
called?
no.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, same.
Socials!
I know.
Can't relate.
It starts with an R, I think.
Raven? No.
No. It was. You know what you're talking
It's
about?
like the ones where they
School,
forced them to convert. Wait,
Residential school.
What?
Residential school.
Yeah,
Oh,
Residential schools there.
Isaiah, MVP.
And
Nice.
a
You
lot of
actually
kids were
paid
killed
attention
there
to
too, you know?
No, and they were like abused, and I
They were
watched
Yeah.
abused,
documentaries,
killed,
Yeah.
and
murdered.
like, oh, it was so bad.
Like-
Yeah.
They take their children away from home
and like
and
they
make them go to these schools.
Yeah.
Educating them.
So this brings us into a whole entirely different topic. Like, this is not really social justice, but it's more about Christian history. So Christians have done a lot of very bad things. Ever heard of the Crusades?
Mhm.
People actually murdered people because
Yeah.
they wouldn't become Christians.
Oh my.
Okay, so
Yep.
we have a deep history, like full of bloodshed. So delightful. But what people need to realize is that those people were people who really lost their way in the journey of like being a Christian, right? So they think like we just need to make the whole world Christian, which is wrong. Like, that's not how you introduce people to the love of Jesus. First of all, Jesus is about love. So when in that ever involves killing, that number one,
literally says,
I already
"Do not
can't.
kill."
It says do not kill. I don't know why you're killing people. And second of all, like, they make it so much of, like, a rule thing and of, like, a whole construct, like, structure. They added so much structure to a point where they actually started murdering people, right? And this is what we're talking about, the spirit of religion, 宗教的灵, right? Because when people get caught up in, like, the rules and, like, the Bible says this, so it dictates our lives and, like, whatever, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and that is... the spirit of religion, where Christianity becomes a set of rules and a religion instead of a relationship with Jesus, right? So for the longest time, like, even when we were in my grandpa's old church, like, we were, like, evangelicals, right? Like, very conservative type of Christian. We, like, sing hymns from the hymn book. It's, like, super boring. Like, we never really said, like, to have a relationship with the Lord. We never even preached that. Like, having a relationship with Jesus kind of, like, came up more recently, like when we got in touch with like the people who run Emerge, right? But they've been running things for a long time already, and only when we heard their teachings are we like, oh, we actually need to live out the Bible daily. Not that that wasn't already said in the Bible. I don't know why no one noticed that, but we need to actually have actions, like put our faith into action, and like be overcomers, like living the inner life, like all not just going with your emotion, but like actually being like, is this a godly emotion? And if not, like, Jesus, help me to change, right? And like all of these kind of teaching there, to me, like I feel like we learned them kind of like more recently, like in the last like 15 years. Yeah, so like I feel like the church has lost their way for a really long time, where they just keep, you know, they think like they should just like do good deeds and like come to church. Like the most important thing in their Christian life is coming to church, right? And my grandpa will always stress that, and he'll always write letters to you if you miss church, because coming to church is like the epitome of like being a Christian. But yeah, it's like equally the Crusades and the murdering and you know the type of church that my grandpa ran, like we have equally like missed the point of Christianity, and that is what.
You're shaking it every time.
Oh. And that is like we need to have a personal relationship with Jesus, and Jesus is all about love, right? And he never wants us to condemn people or shame people in any way, but he always wants us to love them and win them with love, not win them with rules. Because you're like, hi, would you like to join my club that is full of rules and basically makes your life devoid of any joy? Like, who would want to join that, right?
I know all about that because
Who would want to join that?
growing up for me,
Yeah.
going through Sikhism and everything,
Yeah.
being in another religion, it was literally a set of rules.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. Right? And then people were like, yeah, it's the best thing ever. We're all about love and kindness. I'm like, when did I ever learn about that?
Yeah.
It's always been, you gotta follow the rules, otherwise your God's gonna hate you. I'm like,
Yeah.
no thanks.
And that's
literally what I thought about Christianity.
Yeah.
When I was little, I was like, wow, I can't do all the fun things that other kids do because I'm Christian. I can't look at Pokemon. I can't do all those other fun things that I was interested
And now
as a
my favorite
child.
main character in
And
Smash is Jigglypuff. Wow, okay.
And then
No.
I was like, wow, this is sad. Also, my
Yeah.
parents, they just like were hardcore like helping out with the church, and like they would come home tired and they would get angry easily. And then I would be like, wow, it's all the church's fault. And I'll be like, oh, this sucks. Why am I here? And then I'll be like, and then I don't know, it's just not good. And then just kind of, yeah, it wasn't fun.
Yeah, and I feel like that's another great example of like how the church completely missed the point. You know, it's so sad. Like actually, so many of people that I even know are like completely missing the point. Like it's just like that like just becomes like about like serving the people, and we're like, oh, we always want you to help out. Like, oh, in order to love Jesus more, you have to serve the people, and it becomes like a duty, you know. But it's like, no, you want to serve because you love the Lord, not because you're required to serve so you can earn His love. That is like the backwards way. Like you are loved first. God pours into your life first, you receive love first, then you can pour out to other people, right? It's not like, oh, you receive love from God because you love Him by like serving. Like that is wrong. That is the opposite of what like God is about.
I feel like that just did bad things for me
Yes.
it was just like, wow, I don't want to serve at all because bad things just come out of it. So then whenever my parents would serve, I'll be like, ugh, you're helping the church again. Why do they always make you do everything? And then they'll always be like busy, and then they'll complain to me they're busy.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And then you'll point out that like you're doing all this, but what is the benefit to you, right? And the sad thing is like I don't know why, but like no one was really like pouring into your parents, so that's why they can get like irked easily and all that stuff. That's a result of like them not being cared for properly, and like
and they didn't
it's very
get, like,
sad.
anything out of it either. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's that whole situation is really sad. So like
Marriage, you cared, huh?
Marin should care. Huh? Yeah, so we should like keep praying for your parents that like people will come
It's like
around them and like care
like they don't
for
like, my
them.
dad, he goes to White Rock like once a month, but like they're like really appreciative. So like he's happy to be there.
Yeah, that's
So,
good.
like, it's
Oh, the one that your mom forced him to do?
okay. No, in the end he decided.
He's
like,
okay. Yeah,
Oh,
that's good. I'm glad. Yeah, Isaiah.
I feel like I can't like about that. Yeah, I always feel like it's a rule. Like you have to do this, you have to do that, because I cannot go a week without mom saying the reason why you go to school is to thankfully. I can't go a week without hearing that. So at first I'm like, oh okay, then it's a great
I
thing to
low-key
do.
feel like she's making an excuse for us to suffer. You
Then
know?
okay,
'Cause she's
I don't know about that, but then I was like, okay, great,
I
go
think
Chris,
it's that.
go the gospel, and then now I'm just like.
She's just trying to feel better about sending me to public school because I complain every single day about how depressed I am.
Okay, well, for me, now I don't like hate it, but I'm like, I don't hate like the gospel. I'm tired of hearing that every single day. Like, I mean, mom, I get it, and I know it, and I think about
But,
it
like,
every
the
day.
thing
I
is,
meditate on
the
it,
way
all
my
that.
mom does it, I feel like she shoves it down people's throats, and it scares me because I'm like, Mom, why would anyone want to be Christian when that's all you talk about? They come over for dinner, that's all you talk about. You
Melissa,
don't
that's
even
their
let them-
generation, though. My mom does that too.
I know. She doesn't even.
Her dad does that too.
She doesn't even
Yeah.
let them like talk about stuff they want to talk about.
Yeah.
And, like if I felt like someone was shoving something down my throat, I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to come anymore. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to listen to you talk anymore. And then the way she talks about it too, it's like condescending. It's like because I'm Christian, I'm better than you. It doesn't make sense, and I hate it when she does that. And I tell her, and she's like, I do.
Okay, so here's how it goes. So my mom invites people over to dinner.
Yep.
We have a great time. We talk. Once the guest is comfortable, okay, time to spell out the gospel. So I spell it out. Then cut halfway. My dad goes on this rant on how his brother was possessed by.
Yeah, and then they come and put this stuff, and I'm like, whoa,
I'm
this
like,
is way much.
Your parents' combination is like really explosive.
I feel like for like a person who doesn't really know Jesus to suddenly be talking about like demons and possession, I'd be like,
yeah, that would be.
like-
That's a lot. That's a
But
lot.
like,
Yeah.
I know, but they're like Buddhists, right? Most of them,
Yeah.
so they do know that.
Oh,
there
you
are,
Jito,
like,
spirit
spiritual
mediums.
stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I feel like it's a bit much if you just jump into that.
You know, if your parents want to do that, that's really up to them.
It
You're not
scares
gonna.
me. I
You're
feel
not
like
gonna
they're
be able to
not
change
doing-
what they're doing, right? And you're not gonna like. You're doing it wrong. Let me do it,
Well,
right?
well,
Do
I
you
won't-
want to do it instead?
No.
And then like, oh, no, but then they pressure like the kids to go to church, and I'm like, well, I don't want you to feel forced to come to church.
It's
like,
to the
that's
point-
just not
it's to the
fun,
point-
you know?
Where my friend had to like lie to me to get out of church because my mom was telling me, hey, do you want to go ask this girl if she wants to go to church? I'm like, okay, I'll text her. And then she literally like somewhat like half lied to me that I was
Yeah.
like, I figured out that I kind of understand it. I didn't like call her out on it. So I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, so like that is because of generational cultural differences,
True.
right? Because I mean, their method might work with Buddhist people or it might work with some people the same age, right? I know like your dad, like his style, if we apply it to people like our age, it will not work.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, you don't
but it
say
actually works for him. Like he actually brought so many people to their group, right?
You get?
He did.
He did. Yeah, he did.
Really?
You know, he did.
Oh.
Huh?
Well,
When you guys were really young, yeah.
well, he started his.
No, I mean like Naya's dad.
Oh, well, he
Okay, well, Naya's dad is
My-
very different. From
different
Our,
because
He's
my
so intense, though.
our dad is like
dad
he's
focused
like full on like.
focus on demons. That is true.
Yeah,
kind of-
well,
yeah,
yeah.
because he has like experience
Yeah.
in
That's
it
true.
in his family.
Because his own brother,
I
yeah.
feel like he's more like I don't know. He's more like really, really like God fearing and like more like not like disciplined, but like more like fears God rather than like
Loves
has
it.
like a really close loving relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So then like when he speaks, you can see it. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's okay because you can just keep praying for him, right? Because
But like I don't want to say how he does this the wrong way, right? Like
yeah,
because like. I
Maybe
guess
that's
we
his-
see-
his
yeah, we see
capacity
God
of
in, like, different ways,
encountering
right?
God. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, but you can keep praying for him to encounter like a different aspect of God, right? Like the nice, loving aspect, not always like the hardcore, like we need to cast out demons aspect, right?
Okay.
Yeah, like even me, like I was like the streaming aspect for a while, and I'm just like, no, we're just gonna chill this week,
Oh.
right? So it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just keep praying for him.
And I feel kind of like bad for my mom because I feel like mom feels like a little bit rejected, a little bit.
What? Oh,
Because-
yeah, she does. She does.
Because
definitely
like
does.
because is that how a conversation goes when she meets a new person? Let's say Naya's new. Hi Naya, do you know who Jesus is? Or do you want to go to church? Like it just starts off as that, and then usually I'm just like
Maybe our parents just have bad social skills.
Go to Dama.
They do. My mom also has poor social skills.
Yep.
for the event planning thing we should make like, all the adults to come so we can teach them everything.
It's
No,
okay.
It's gonna turn into an argument.
That's
No, no,
true,
no,
that's
no, no,
true.
no. We should just pray for them. It's okay.
Yeah.
No, but you remember one of the important things that I received from Emerge is that when we are transformed, that transformation will carry over into our parents, right? So like there is hope for your parents, but don't worry about that right now
Okay.
because right now we focus on ourselves, and when we're really strong, we're really solid, then we can like actually minister to them. We can actually like play and minister as a whole team. Like when we do team, we can have like more instruments. We can have people like actually laying hands on people and praying for people and prophesying over people, over the adults, right? So like really like all of what we're doing now, there is a massive like goal and like kind of like this mission that we're supposed to go on. That's why we're preparing for it, right? Like this is what we're preparing for. Is to like first us, right? And then the people around us, close friends, parents, right? And then we expand from there, right? So yeah, Naya. you're-
I think like my dad, he used to be like really like, oh, thank you so much. I was like,
Just tell us. We have so many blank.
I was like,
You're
Naya's like
permanent.
stuck in her
Permanent.
entire sweater. I'm
I
like, I
almost
almost fell at one point. I was like, shoot. Yeah.
Oh shoot!
Oh, shit.
Why?
So like it did used to be like kind of zoned out, like not as intense as like your parents, but you used to have
Don't
the
say.
Bible and all these sticky notes, and they'd be like highlighted. And you'd be like, Naya, let's go over the 10 Commandments.
Oh my!
Okay, but then, like now he's like not as anymore. He's more chill.
I feel like Vincent's mom worked really hard on him.
Yeah, she probably did.
One time she was actually just whacking his back, and he was like, "Don't try to like."
I think she did.
And he was like, it was so funny.
Yeah, now he's like kind of chill.
Yeah.
And like my relationship with him is like better because like before it was like super strained. Like we'd be washing the dishes and I'd be like, don't put the dish in there. And he'd be like, what did you just say to me? I'll be like, chill.
Oh my.
And I'm like, now he's just like,
Frozen turkey.
he's like, I don't know. He's gotten like.
better.
It's more like that. Like, don't do that. You're embarrassing me. Stop hugging me. I don't know. I feel like that method just works better because, like, literally the other day I was like going home and then this like old man tapped my shoulder. He's like, "Oh hi, do you know where this building is?" I'm like, "Oh, what do you want?" He's like, "Oh, I'm looking for a guy called Bian Di Xiu." I'm like, excuse me. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm attending the church." No, and then
The
like I was just
meeting.
like, "Okay, I'll show you where," but then I didn't tell him I was his daughter because I was like stranger danger, and then I brought him to my house and he was so confused.
Hey, this is girl living here.
Yeah, actually, this is my house.
See you later, bye.
That's so funny. So I'm like, your parents will do what they'll do. Like, don't worry about it. It actually does work. It doesn't completely not work. So give them a little bit of credit. But yeah, just let it be for now. And then I like I said, like it could work on people in their generation, but people in our generation, I think no matter how much you say things to them, they probably won't believe you. But if they see that you act differently, that you react differently to different things, that you don't get upset or like emotionally shook by like every small thing that people say to you, then they're like, this person has an inner strength that the feminist people do not have. And they're
What
like,
makes them strong?
and then in their
No,
slang,
the
like,
Bible.
what's your brand? Like, what are you about, right? And then they're just like, the reason I can be so strong on the inside is because like I put my faith in Jesus and like these things don't affect me, right? you know, when everyone's like depressed and like about something and you're like fine and people are like, how are you fine? And then you get to tell them like, I'm fine because like of God, right? So again, that's all also why like I tell you guys a lot, like we have to start being aware of like how we react to different things and how we let things affect us, right? Because people around us see that, right? If what are you doing?
Cheese on cheese.
Can you not?
Wait.
Great.
What is happening?
I don't-
Oh my
I
god!
don't know if it's Jubilee.
Okay, so yeah, that's why I stress like we have to react differently, because if we let everything affect our emotions, then we are literally exactly the same as the people around us, right? How would you say you act differently than the classmates, your classmates? Do you think there's any difference? If a third party was observing, okay, let's play a scenario. If there was an alien person who was like, oh, I want to observe the humans, right? So then he's like, I want to observe how, like, their culture and how they communicate with each other. So, for example, he chose to observe you and your friend group or, like, whatever, right? So will he be like, oh, these people, like, they all react the same? Or is he going to be like, this one person actually reacts differently? And you kind of notice that, like, this one person is different, right? So, like, would you say that in your friend group that, like, you do react differently to things than other people? Or would you say, like, it's very similar?
I would say different to my friend group, because my friend group is whenever there's a problem, my friend tells me that I could confront the other person. So yeah, I don't know.
You can what?
So whenever we have a problem,
Yeah.
my friend tells me what happened, and then I go confront the person that wronged
the whole
him
thing.
and or her. Yeah.
So instead of, like, just talking about it behind people's back,
Yeah.
you guys are insane.
It's so good.
You guys are insane. You're eating this wrong.
So for this thing, for me, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question again?
It was like, do you feel like our actions are any different than our friends' actions? Like,
Yes. I think for me, yes. For my high school friends,
yeah.
in like the past 2 years,
Shani, calm
since-
down.
since I started coming to church with you guys on like Fridays, like my friends, they've like called me out. They'd be like, dude, you're different. Something is so different with you. They're just like, you're more positive. The way you respond is better. You don't swear anymore. All that kind of stuff. So I think I'm just like, I used to be like explosive before. Now I'm just like not explosive. I'm like an expired firework that doesn't explode anymore.
Oh my gosh. It's like a semi-depressing way of describing yourself.
No, but yeah.
Yeah, because your old self died.
Very true.
So yeah, I think for me, like, I'm definitely acting a lot different because like, even though I'm with them sometimes, like I don't really act the same way they do and react the same way they do when I'm with them. But like, I've definitely gotten like a lot better. And even they told me like, dude, you're different. What's different? What are you doing that's different? I'm like, Jesus, come to church with me, guys. They're like, yeah, we'll see. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
But that's like the best. I feel like that's a really good way to like even start the conversation, right? Because you're not pushing anything down their throats. They're the ones asking you. Now, if they're willing and open to come to a church or not, that's, you gotta pray for them. That's up to like God's timing, kind of thing,
Yeah,
right?
like I hyped it up to them. They're like, that sounds really cool. We want to go. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
you should come.
Yeah.
Come with me, man.
Yeah, so like the ideal way to spread the gospel now is not like Isaiah's mom, like, make sure you spread the gospel. Like, it's not like that. It's like you're living out your faith, and people see that like on
It's like,
display,
whoa,
right?
what
And then
is
they're
society
like,
different
yeah, that's
for
different.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like, it might sound weird, but it's like a different energy kind of. Like,
Yes.
like right when you guys came back for a bird, I was like, whoa, something is different.
We were broken by their cold bathroom.
So,
No.
My eyes were like,
but like, yeah,
No, so I got married.
After all, we got married.
but then like, I don't know, but like after some time, like with you guys, and then now I see like the other people I used to hang out with, I'm like, whoa, this is really different.
Yeah, Naya.
I feel like now that like people kind of have like a stigma against Christians, they're like, oh, they must be like these conservative, like rule following people. I feel like if we just straight up tell them be a Christian, it's not gonna work on them. It's gonna have the opposite effect.
Yeah.
And we really have to show by action because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, they're not what I thought. Maybe like
Exactly.
Christians aren't as bad.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah, we gotta convince them that like this new, like, let's call it evolution, right? This new evolution of like Christianity is something that they would be interested in, right? Because like all of what they know about Christianity before is all like just religion, spirit of religion, right? And that's why this devil was so successful, because he painted a picture that looks so bad that like no one even wants anything to do with it.
Picture with blood.
Yeah. And now that people are super into like digging up history and using that to throw shade at people, sooner or later they're going to start being like, wow, the Christians murdered so many people back in, hundreds of years ago, right? And so they would even question like, how can you call your religion a religion of love if that is the history of it, right? And then so we have to be very clear. This is so hard to be serious when you're constantly having chip mishaps over there. What's happening? It makes every time on you. Okay, we need to display that we can remain serious. Otherwise, next time we can't have snacks when we're talking.
sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so we need to like be really clear on like, I do acknowledge that is what we originated from, but also know that was completely missing the mark of what it's actually about, right? And be able to explain to people that like, even though it was like that before, that's not what I'm about. That's not what I believe
I've
in.
actually told my coworkers that many times.
Oh, about Christianity?
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
There's this one guy, his grandpa was a pastor, and he's like super anti-Christianity, and I'm just like, yes, a lot of people are really crazy like that. But actually, Christianity for me is relationship and like loving people like you want to be loved. And treating people with kindness, not hating on everyone and using your crazy religion as an excuse to be super judgmental. And like that's not what it is. It's how it's lifestyle. It's not religion and not rules. And like I feel like that takes people off guard because they expect you to preach at them, but you're just like, bro, I'm just like you. I'm trying.
Yeah, and I just want to like care for you because I see that you're hurting, right? And like people can't really say no to that. Like I don't want your care, right? Like,
that would make me care.
How did we get from feminism to this?
yeah, I don't know. Someone morphed it into like something about Christianity, and then it became like generational cultural differences.
Residential school.
I mean,
indigenous people.
That's actually very important to talk about. Though.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
How do you deal with people condemning you to be
Yeah.
like one of those
That's
crazy radical people?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, my life is more about how I live rather than like the rules and then like, following a certain thing. Like I follow like what Jesus teaches, and what Jesus is mainly about is like love. So then every decision I base out of love, right? Which is why, Jesus doesn't see race because he created all of them, right? He loves every one of us equally, and like that's how I can truly support like equality, and I can truly like empower men and women and give them the respect that they deserve because I know the creator and who made them, right? So like, yeah.
If you think about it that way, a lot of Christians who are like hardcore social justice warriors and feminists, like they're disrespecting God.
Yeah, because they disrespect a lot of people, right? And yeah, that's never God's will, so it's very sad that way. Yeah, let's pick another topic from your list.
Talk about the education system, or we did kind of touch on that.
Yeah, I was reading about a new agenda by the UN. So this is gonna be something that's like worldwide, like hundreds of countries are involved with the UN. So the UN pushed out a new agenda that's like, we need to push for sustainable development. So their lie that they're hiding behind is like, oh, we're making a greener country. We're making so then the earth doesn't get destroyed in 11 years. Like that's their like motto. that the Earth is going to be destroyed in 11 years. So, do you know how I know that one of the new people who's trying to run for American president next definitely is with the agenda? Because first of all, her whole thing is about environmental stuff. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, her face is like on Ben Shapiro's thing like constantly. So she's a socialist and she wants to tax the rich people 70%.
Whoa, that's a bit much.
70%.
Fair.
That's not
Why
fair.
even make money in America anymore? You can't. You can't make money. So like that's her thing, right? And oh my god, I lost my thought. What was my thought?
Tax.
No, tax was not my thought,
The
but I got
Alexandra
carried
girl
away.
UN.
Yeah. Oh, yes. How do I know that she's definitely on board with this UN agenda? She, like, literally told people, if we don't create a greener planet, the Earth's going to be destroyed in 12 years. That's actually, like, 2030. So she's, like, completely on par with that agenda. Now, that agenda has a lot of different things that I didn't really delve into, but because one thing I really care about is children and youth, right? So I looked into, like, what they call the comprehensive sex education, and it says that children starting from 5 to 8, they will learn about like all the useless gay and bi and all the transsexual people, and then kids 9 to 12 will be thoroughly taught about how to do bad things and be told that you can choose to become sexually active and here's how to stay safe while doing it. And we're just like, age 9 to 12, not grade 9 to 12. Age 9 to 12. I'm like, that is a literal child. That is like literally younger than Isaiah. And they are like fully teaching them about these things. And I was like, nope. Like, this is so terrible. And instead of pushing like, oh, like, you know, try not to do it, they're gonna say like, oh, just be safe. But, like, fully do it if you want to. Like, just gives blanket permission to people about that. And that's just, you know, at Emerge, like, they often say, like, one of Satan's strongest tools in our generation is sexual immorality. Is when people get sexually, get addicted to sins like pornography, like, you know, like all of those things. They can really be in a place of shame, stay in a place of shame and guilt to the point that just really drives a wedge with them. Even in Christians, like, people will often feel, like, so ashamed that they can't, like, go to God, and they can't. Even, they might, like, try to keep repenting, but they just keep getting stuck in that sin. And these sins are, like, very hard to get out of because, like, you can't, like, unsee something, you know what I mean? Like, if you've seen it, like, it's just in your mind, and you can, like, think about it and, like, basically rewatch it at any time. So that's why, like, these kind of things is so, like, do not engage in it whatsoever, because you cannot, like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, we cannot regain innocence, right? So this is essentially, like, starting from day one of school, completely robbing kids of their innocence and, like, sexualizing them. Exactly. That is exactly the conclusion I came to. I was like, you are literally sexualizing children. And, like, yeah, that's in their agenda. So in the next couple of years, like Canada's, I think, is, like, one of the forerunners for, like, pushing this kind of thing. It's so bad. And, you know, Burnaby, actually, or, like, Vancouver area, was one of the first cities to legalize same-sex marriage. So it actually started here.
Huh? What marriage?
Legalize same-sex marriage. 同性婚姻.
I thought that was Ottawa.
No, it was here.
Oh.
We were the first city. So pastor says that, like, territorial spirits, there's a reason why it started here. So there's, like, a spirit of, like, homosexuality here. That's why a lot of people are affected by it. And yeah, so really gotta pray for that. But yeah, like, that's what they have in store for, like, the education system. And already a long time ago, they never teach creationism. They always teach that evolution is how the world came to be. So we already know all of that is lies, right?
And you know, in science class back in high school, they
Yeah.
had beginning of science. I think it was 10 or 11. I think it was science 10. They're like, there's two types of science that people believe in: creationism and, like,
I didn't learn anything about that.
Oh, I don't know. For my high school, they gave us a little pamphlet,
Yeah.
and basically, I felt like it was singling out all the Christian students in the class because they're like, all right, whoever's a Christian and believes in creationism, put up your hand. Like I knew there's so many Christians in the class, but they didn't put it up,
Oh,
out of shame.
Wow.
right?
Wow.
And it was bad because I felt like they're condemning whoever believed in creationism.
Yeah.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of sucked. And they did mention like, yeah, this is what you can believe in. It's your choice. Yeah, it's up to you, but. He said it in a way where it, like belittled people, and it was like calling them out and like shaming them. So I was like, ooh. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah. No. That was good.
I don't know what you mean, because like
Apparently, we're supposed to learn about
supposed
this.
to be unbiased, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like,
They're so biased.
they're so biased.
We're apparently supposed to learn about this in like March. Then I'm like, Mom, I'm probably gonna fail this because I want to fail this.
No, you can just give teachers what they want, just don't believe it.
Okay.
Or you could just fail it.
Or you could fail, up to you.
Well,
As an actual, like, I hate this. I'm failing it.
Wait,
Like I did Barkley.
film test?
Yeah. About, like,
Get to
evolution.
Isaiah, no, you should be like full on write like the whole entire Bible story down.
You know what though? They can't really fail you for that
Yeah,
because
because
you're just
it's right.
because it's
That's
right
what
for
you believe, right?
Yeah.
We have to write to what we
And then you
believe.
Or
could,
the
since
principle.
everyone's so like liberal now, you could totally argue
Yeah.
your way through it.
That's true.
Okay, Naya.
Okay, so like this might be controversial, but like you know how like people hate Christians, right? They think that Christians hate gay people, so they hate Christians. So why do they like Muslims? That's my question. Like, okay,
Maybe they're scared of them.
no, it's not scared of them. It's like
Their religion has been purposely glorified by a lot of politicians, mostly politicians. I don't know about celebrities, but people in high places. The media especially paints them. They like undemonize them and they unradicalize them, right? Because everyone's like, for a certain point, at a certain point, people were like, when they see a Muslim person, they're like, oh, it's probably a terrorist, right? So people were like very phobic. So in order to correct that, they like went super hard the other way, and they're like, we must love all Islamic people. And then we're like, that's not how you fix problems. Like, you don't just go crazy on the other end. But that's kind of how it began. Yes, Amrit.
I just want to chime in on this whole thing about people hating Muslims. Some of my closest friends are Muslims. I'm like, I know the kind of crap they went through. Basically, from what they told me and what I've read about, the terrorists identify as Muslims because they want a scapegoat that they can blame. And I just feel like it's people see Muslims. And like when I had my turban, like people would see me as a Muslim because they just assumed, oh, he looks like Osama bin Laden. Yet he has to be a Muslim because he has
The
a turban
beard.
and a beard, right? So then I just feel like it's kind of unfair to like say, oh, you know, all Muslims are terrorists because they're the terrorists. They're not Muslims. They're just Middle Eastern people who live in that area. Like, yeah, we practice Islam, but it's not what Islam talks about. Because from what my friends have told me, it's all about peace and love, right? No hate and all. So I'm just like, when I hear about that, I'm just like, it's so unfair.
I feel like that's debatable because we have seen people share like excerpts of what is their thing again? Not the Torah, the Quran, where it says like, the more people you kill, the more brides you get when you get to heaven.
I don't think that.
The
might
more
be,
virgins you are.
I don't think that might be a legit thing. That might be just some fake news.
We have to look into that. We have to look into that.
I hardcore doubt that's an actual thing.
You have to look into it. I don't think it's
Yeah.
out of nothing though. So I don't think that's false. But again, see, the media doesn't cover this kind of news, right? Even if those kind of radical writings were in there, they will try to hide it. So we will think that they're all about peace and love, but maybe. But are they really? And the thing is, like, I'm not saying like all of them will turn into terrorists, because yes, there are a lot of Muslims who are about peace and love, sure, but there are certain groups who like are Muslims who do become radicalized for their God to the point that they just decide to murder other people, right? So like, I don't think we should glorify one religion over the other, because that's not equality, because that's not equal rights, that's not equal voice, that's not freedom of speech. If we cannot say we disagree with Islam, that is actually not freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is like, I can believe in Christianity, I can pray if I'm a Christian, and that should be my right. That is freedom, right? And so if they tolerate Islam and even encourage it, but then they hate Christianity for no reason, that is not equality. So yeah, but I think we do need to look up those details, because I have definitely seen that like some of their writings are like kind of radical, but we need to see how truthful that
It
is.
also might be like some stuff just twisted. Or,
Yeah.
like, people taking things out of context.
Yes, you know, some people, they just read into it and interpret it incorrectly in a way that made them radicalized. So I mean, like, obviously that happened with the Crusades, like even with Christians,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So yes, Naya.
I've also heard, okay, like, I think for me personally, I don't really like persecute against religions. In fact, like, I'm actually friends with like a lot of
Muslims?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then like, I mean, my dad is like too. It's just like, but like I've heard that like it's really similar to Christianity except for Jesus Christ. So like I was just wondering, like, because like it's like controversial because like most of the time like Muslims and Christians were kind of like we
Against
don't-
each
we don't
other
like
a
each
little
other,
bit, yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
why?
Do you know that Muslims and Christians originated from, let me think.
Israel?
Ishmael.
Yes, Ishmael and Isaac. So Isaac went on to birth Jacob, who birthed the 12 tribes of Israel. So then Israel and Christianity originated from there. And then Ishmael is actually Isaac's brother, and then he went on to create like the whole Arab nations and Muslim and Islam. So the reason Arabs and Israelites are always against each other is because of that. Because, to be frank, like, Abraham got too impatient to wait for God to move, so they made their own solution by getting a random wife. And then, Sarah gave her servant to be like, oh, you're bearing a child for us because the Lord promised a son for us, right? So then she bore a child, but then they were like, oh, whoops, Sarah was supposed to have her own child, so then they got their own child, and then Sarah was like mad because like Abraham now had to like split his love amongst like all of his children, and she was just like, we should be like your only people. Oh no, I think Hagar was like rude to her or something. So then he made him cast her out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what started like the whole like feuding thing.
So then would like the God of like Muslim people technically like actually be God, but like just that they see him in a different way?
Yeah.
That is one of very like mysterious things that I don't think I can factually answer because I don't have the facts, right? But what Melissa, okay, this might be a little bit heretic, but what Melissa said can possibly be true. Because if you read Narnia, the last book, the 7th book, has anyone read that before? No. It's called The Last Battle. So in it, they also have like the white people or whatever, and then they also have like the brown people race in that story. And then there's the brown people always served a god called Tash. And Tash is actually like an evil spirit. Like he actually looks really scary. But they worship him. And then, they had the final battle, which means like basically like the tribulation and everything. And then they entered into the heavenly realm, but they still had kind of a journey to go to before they reached like actual heaven, but they were like within that realm. So they were in there, and then they see this guy who is like super devoted to Tash. Like he is like a seeker of truth, and he followed Tash all his life, and he served Tash all his life. But he was in the heavenly realm with them, and he could see everything. Like people who don't belong in the heavenly realm, when they go in, they think everything is dark, and even like delightful food they put in their mouth, it tastes like garbage to them. They cannot sense or see or taste anything from the heavenly realm for what it really is. But for this person, he was able to see everything. And then they were like, but he serves Tash, right? But then the explanation for that was like because his heart was like seeking the truth, and that was the only truth he knew like all his life. So it counted, and because he did good instead of like evil motives. So what he did counted as towards Aslan instead of for Tash. So then I feel like that kind of introduces a really grand idea of like there is a possibility where if that was the only truth that person ever knew and their whole heart was like genuinely just wanted to like love and serve like God and then like do good to people, then there is a possibility that like they could be like saved. But this is like completely a myth. We don't know at all. Like maybe you can ask God. But I don't know. Yeah, but a lot of people will be like, "Oh, we are the one true God," and like if unless you're serving like the right God, otherwise you'd be condemned, right? And yeah, but then I feel like C.S. Lewis is very like an out of the box thinker, and that's why he kind of included in that if like someone was really like genuinely just like seeking the truth and wanting to like do good and be for like good, then that good can only count towards like the good entity rather than the evil entity. I don't know, mythical. Yeah. But I mean, like, according to the gospel and everything, like, because this person didn't, like, put his faith in Jesus and, like, repent and, like, actually have a relationship with Jesus, so I would probably say, like, no, they're not saved. But yeah. So, yeah, but what your question is, like, can the Allah they're referring to like be the same as like the God of Abraham? I never looked into it, so I actually don't know. Yeah. Yeah, but like the Jesus aspect is like the whole basis of salvation, right? And they definitely don't have the Jesus aspect, so there's that.
So it's possible that they believe in the same God, but they just don't have the salvation aspect.
Yeah, possibly. That's a very grand question.
Okay.
Not a lot of people think of that. I really need to go to the bathroom. I will be right back. Please think of more questions.
In that sense, would Catholics also not be able to, like the traditional ones, because they didn't like believe in Jesus either? So like,
It was like Mary or something.
What do Catholics believe in?
It's like,
like
Christianity,
they-
but kind of weird.
they
Yeah.
they
They
believed
also-
in the existence of Jesus Christ, but they didn't think he was the Son of
Yeah.
God. They just thought he was like
A
this
man.
prophet.
Cool guy.
Yeah, cool guy.
Yeah.
They
It
like
is.
Hail Mary.
Yeah, they think Mary is higher.
They think she's
I thought,
the
but from
purest
what I heard,
woman.
I thought they were like they pray to Mary so that Mary will give the message to God or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I'm not sure
kind of
either.
strange, but like the whole point is like if you don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God and he died for your sins, and that he's the only way to heaven, then you're not like quote unquote saved. So I think everyone always thinks like, oh, my religion is the only one, that's the only true one, everyone else is wrong. But like the point is not religion. The point is like your relationship with God and the relationship with Jesus and like knowing the truth. Instead of being like, oh, but that God's pretty cool and this God's pretty cool, like maybe I should just worship all of them.
Yeah, someone told me that like Catholic was like a way of the Roman Empire government to rule people. They have a sort of big ideology, and they have this momentum. They have this big propaganda. They use this to like to more like control people. Like to have this sort of like looks very spectacular. Looks sounds very beautiful. This sort of this sort of big ideology, this religion, and then Rome was like a huge empire, and they need to have something like not only just their military forces, not only just their like economic growth, they need to have something like really can influence people's thoughts and minds. So they get this, they established this system bigly, Catholic, and to kind of give people like because your big country needs something to make people believe in you, make people think you are a big country. So you come up with these ideas, and lots of people at that time believe in like, Catholic. I think. And yeah, I'm not sure about that one was right or not, but I took that into account because he was he is one of the main disciple in Calgary. Or like I was in Calgary, like he's pretty old, but he practiced like kind of different martial arts, and he is the one of the main disciple in that dojo was held in the seminar. And we were like eating lunch, and he just tell me kind of this stuff. And yeah, I will take that into account. So exactly that's how I understand Catholic was like. And not sure about if Catholic is really good or bad, like compared to Christianity, like what's the differences, what's the different ideas between this religion, that religion. I don't think we need to really dig into that stuff because that's just kind of it's not worth it. We don't need to like put lots of effort into it. Yeah, as long as we know that there's righteousness in the things we believe, and we catch this and just don't let it go because lots of people, lots of Christian, I would say even some of my friends, like you know, when they were questioning are you Christian or not, when they were like questioning themselves, like some of the principles of Christianity, some of the concepts, the teachings from the Bible, and was too old for this very modern or this very open generation. When you are speaking those terms, like, is that really will be popular with your friends, or will you be like welcomed by people's opinion or not? But sometimes it's more than just being accepted by other people, because you feel that little thing, I would consider it as a righteousness. You feel that little thing in your heart, or you feel that little you think is what is you consider as the right thing, just don't let it go. Just catch it. Like, you can't let it go. Like, sometimes if you let it go, it's hard to gain it back. Then it goes back. And yeah, that's how I feel about how Christians should live in this world. How should we interact with this world? Just don't need to purposely or forcefully do something.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice because what I've been seeing is like the world is really loud right now. Like even if you don't want to know it, they're teaching it in school, so you can't even get away from it, right? And your friends, you're just having a casual time. They just decide to talk about it. Like you can't not listen to it. Like it's hard. So like it's kind of like the walls are like coming in, and you're just like being so bombarded by all of these things. But like, yeah, like Vincent said, like when you hear like feel like what is right, like the Holy Spirit speaking to you, like that's right, just like hold on to it, right? And I feel like the only way we can navigate all this is by being very, very good at listening to the Holy Spirit, by knowing exactly like in every situation, like you don't need to like put on my waiting music and like get on my knees and like enter the courtroom of the Lord in order to like hear God's voice, but just like be in tune with Him in your heart. And in every situation, just
Use a napkin.
be asking the Holy Spirit, like, how do you feel about this situation, and how should I act, right? So.
Isaiah, move. I said, get out of your chair.
Oh, it's okay.
I like how it looks like a little hood on the thing, just like that.
Yeah, what else did you have on your list, Melissa?
I didn't make a list.
Oh, okay.
Just, I don't know, going along with whatever.
Yeah.
Dang it, I just had a really good thought. I don't remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to dig up this old sermon that I listened to, but it was about bringing the justice of heaven onto earth. So not social justice, but the justice of heaven, because the whole reason that Jesus came down and this whole salvation thing happened was to bring his justice onto the world, right? It was to defeat the injustice brought by Satan and to overcome it by Jesus' justice. So I feel like we should really be about like, what does justice look like in Jesus' eyes, right? And sometimes that looks like turning the other cheek and letting people, not fighting back in ways that we think, like verbally or whatever, right? But we look like maybe we look like underdogs to other people, but like on the inside, we are overcoming. On the inside, we're really strong, right? So yeah, I definitely think like I was saying, like before you had to take the phone call, like it's so important. That's why we keep stressing, like we have to keep learning like how to encounter God and how to communicate with God and how to receive like vision, like receive a word, receive promptings from the Holy Spirit, because when we're in the midst of this, like every situation is different, right? Even if we have discussions every single week, I cannot fully prepare you for everything that's going to happen to you, right? Because it hasn't even happened, so we don't know about it yet. But in order to like navigate all of this, you really have to like just listen to the Holy Spirit, just ask him like, how should I respond in this moment? Like, should I say something? Should I not say something? Like, do I have peace about this, or am I stirred up inside to say something, right? So, yeah, I think that's super important. Naya, what else did you have on your list?
I think I need to go soon.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was gonna talk about wait, I feel like we just went into a pretty serious topic. Can't like.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Like social justice related.
Sure, anything.
Like going way back to like. So like, how about more controversial issues?
Yeah, sure.
Like rape accusations.
That's a huge one.
Hi, this is sexual harassment. And I remember my thought.
Yeah.
It was about my friend at church. He is like one of those people that like have no clue what's going on, and like
Must be nice.
yeah,
Must
like,
be nice.
he doesn't.
Josiah,
Yeah.
right?
He doesn't know what the dab is. He doesn't know who Ariana Grande is. I'm like, how? Like,
Must be nice. I wish
Must be
I was
nice.
like that.
yeah, but like,
Go.
he's so tall.
Literally exactly the same.
Shania, you were basically like that, except you danced hip
now-
hop.
Wait, what's the point of this?
If it wasn't for hip hop, you would literally exactly
yeah,
be like
I
him.
would be him.
Okay, so anyway, so like
That's
I
so
was,
true.
so I was like, wow, like how do you do that? And then like he doesn't know like a lot of stuff, which like last year, if you didn't know anything, you'd be like 5 years ago, if you didn't know anything, like
Yeah.
you would be like, why don't you know anything? But now it's like if you don't know anything, that's a blessing. Like right now.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I think it's something to do with his unstable Wi-Fi connection.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Wait, so what were we talking about?
He remembered his thought, but
Oh.
going back to Naya's topic, she was talking about rape accusation.
Hi.
That's a massive topic. Can you narrow it down a little
Okay,
bit
like,
more?
It's more like these issues that are like harder to argue against, because like
Yeah.
feminism,
Yeah.
it's actually not that hard to argue. It'd just be like, oh yeah, you're so like you're victimizing yourself. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. But like
Yeah.
rape and abortion,
Mhm.
these issues are actually extremely hard to argue
Mhm.
against, because
Mhm.
like they actually have like, from like a non-Christian standpoint, they
Yeah.
actually do stand very like they're easy. It's just.
Okay, rape. Okay, let's do abortion first. Rape is a little bit harder.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of abortion, right now, I feel like we are gaining a little bit of an edge, because the left is going so crazy to the point you can decide to murder your baby after it's born. They're advocating for that. They're trying to pass that in America. Obviously, I don't think Trump is going to let them, but that is how far they're advocating this for. If it's born and it has a disability, or I don't know if it's like what the rules exactly are, but maybe like, I don't know, like social economic status, like whatever, for whatever reason, you can choose to murder a baby after it's born, to abort a baby after it's born.
The doctor should.
Mm-hmm. And they were just advocating for late term abortion, right? So even like 7, 8, 9 months, like you can still choose to abort the baby because like people are like, I guess they think in the sense of like only when they're born do they count as like a living, breathing human being.
But to like Christians, when do they count as living?
When they're pregnant.
When do they?
Literally, when the baby is.
Like the zygote.
When do they?
Yeah.
Like when they have a spirit?
How do you
I
know
would
when they
consider-
have a spirit, though?
Like from the beginning.
Oh.
Yeah, because
living.
when they have a spirit, because you know how they're like, oh, it's good to talk to your baby when it's in your womb, right? Because it's a living human being and it has a live spirit, right? And it says in the Bible that John the Baptist was filled with the Holy Spirit when he was in the womb, right? So like obviously you have a spirit, and then you yeah, must be nice. Yeah, so like obviously the baby already has a spirit, and that spirit was able to like be in line with the Holy Spirit and be filled by the Holy Spirit. So all babies, like I believe like when they are like successfully created, conceived, yes, like have that spirit in them. So like by terminating that, you are terminating a spirit that the Lord is like, oh, like you have been selected to go to the earth to become a baby. Oh, just kidding, you got killed. you know, like feels bad for that baby, right? But yeah, like to me, I consider like when they're conceived, they have a spirit, and if they have a spirit inside of them, that is a person, and they are, fully capable of like us talking to it. Like it feels, it can receive things, it can be cursed. A lot of times, people are like, if they were unwanted pregnancies or something, and the parents are like, the mom was like depressed or like, oh, I don't really want you, but I have to deal with it. That child, really?
Yeah, that was
What?
Me.
Oh, Canton.
Excuse me.
Okay, yeah, 真的Canton. Because that really affects the child when they are like even into adulthood. If it's never dealt with, it actually affects them, and then they just like they will have like issues. Yes, but you are doing very great, so good job. 我just fully 砍断, yeah. But yeah, like so that they have a spirit, right? So like yeah, I just don't think that you should like kill a spirit, like kill a person like that. But yeah, like I think it's making the argument a little bit easier for us because of how extreme they want to go, right? So it's like that is straight murder. That's actual like.
Yep, it is.
And an abortion doctor was trying to explain to them, like, if a baby is like, say, 6 months? No, 4 or 5 months. The baby is already like around this big. So when they abort it, they actually have to rip the baby limb from limb and like pull out an actual limb. Like that's a leg. Let me just dig around. Oh, that's an arm. And then, some liquid came out. That's their brain. Like, you're actually tearing this baby limb from limb. So, like, stop murdering people, right? But so, like, the doctor was like, that's actually what we're doing. Like, don't glamorize it. We are tearing the fetus limb from limb. So, yeah, like, know what we're dealing with. Like, that is very extreme. Like, but they want to emphasize, like, the woman's right to their body. Like, if the woman doesn't want to carry the child, the woman shouldn't have to carry the child, right?
Then don't run line.
Exactly! Don't do stuff in the first place. But then there's some few people who are advocating that, like, if the child is a living being, then it has the right to live as well, right? And they're saying, like, the Down syndrome community, like, Down syndrome babies are being targeted because they are disabled, right? So when parents like say like late term, like they're born and they're like, oh no, your child has abortion, do you want to keep it or not? And they're like, no,
your child has
right?
Down syndrome, not abortion.
So they're like, right now a large amount of people who are being polled are saying that if it was a Down syndrome child that they would kill it. So then the Down syndrome people are be like, you know what, like even though we're not like that smart, but they actually increase, like they're actually really cute, like, and it,
I have a
And they're
nephew.
really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so they're like,
Cutest
we
kid
actually bring a lot of joy into this world, so why are you trying to murder us, you know?
You know how Down syndrome happens? Sometimes when the mom drinks.
Ooh.
Your fault.
And when frickin' cannabis is legal.
Things happen when you do those
And
things.
like Down syndrome people or with disabilities, they give more opportunity for like testimonies, right?
Yeah,
The most
yeah.
powerful ones are like that guy that has like a chicken nugget limb or something.
Oh, Nick
Yeah.
Vuj's.
Chicken nugget.
What kind of
He calls it a chicken nugget.
Really? Okay.
Yes, he calls
Yeah.
it his chicken drumstick.
Oh,
That's so
drumstick,
funny.
I'm sorry.
Chicken nugget.
Yeah, like the testimonies would come from them, right? So
Yeah.
like, why would you?
Yeah, for sure. And I think like they were saying that they can help with like Alzheimer's research too.
Uh-huh.
So like obviously they're not completely useless. There was a Down syndrome person who was like a model on the runway, right? And she's advocating for like, hey, disabled people are beautiful too, and we can, do these things. Yes, Isaiah.
Dang, what's my thought again? All right. So one of the Sunday.
Good night. Yeah.
So one of the
Have a
Sunday
good class
school
tomorrow
teachers.
morning.
One of the Sunday school teachers, sisters, Miss Rod, Mr. Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his sister has Down syndrome, and then they will always say like people came to take pictures of her because she was so beautiful. I'm like, okay, well, then like why are you doing this to people with Down syndrome? Like I don't like why are like people like killing babies? Like I don't get it.
Yeah, like
Like I'm sorry, like they can turn out to be like amazing.
if a mom killed her 5-year-old child with autism, and like everyone would be like really pissed off. They'd be
Yeah.
like, "Wow, she's an inhumane monster," right?
Yeah.
But then like if she kills like a 5-month-old baby in the womb, right? Like everyone's just like, "Oh, she has the rights to her body." Like, I
It's
don't
the same baby.
It is. So technically, if they want to legalize after birth abortion, right? And what stops them from legalizing? Like at age 5, I realized that he is super mentally retarded and will never grow up. His mental capacity will never go past a 3-year-old. Can I choose to murder him then? Right? Because I realize that there's a disability. So what is the difference between just being born and then like just in their growing years, right? If you notice a disability later on. So yeah, so like they're getting more and more ridiculous. Which
No,
so that makes
it's
abortion a
not
little bit easier. In terms of rape, they are saying that girls shouldn't have to clothe themselves properly in order to not be raped, and I'm just like, no, okay. I beg to differ because if I don't wear those clothes and I don't go drinking and I don't like club and do shady stuff, will I be raped? Like very, very low chance, right? Like unless like some person like in the dark while you're walking home like suddenly decides to attack you, then like okay, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, someone was raped at my school.
Right? Yeah, so be careful, guys. But still, like, okay, obviously, I know that we all have like our angels protecting us, so like we're fine. But like, if I don't do those promiscuous actions, what are the chances of this person getting raped for no reason? Right? It's like, and a lot of times, like when you're drunk and when people feel empty inside, a lot of the time they actually like want to do it. But they're so drunk that they don't remember, but like they actually was like wanted to do it. And so the guy is all like, okay, well I asked you and you were like yes at the time, but now you're coming back and saying you didn't give consent and now I'm being accused as being a rapist, right? So I just think that like it's so messed up. Yeah, both sides,
Like,
yeah.
take responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, just do your part. Don't be shady.
Yeah. I feel like you need to take into consideration like under what circumstance that happened. Blitz attack, definitely a rapist, right? Shady party, okay, we'll have to see about that, right? Because and like you can't just disregard like whatever plea the guy has, because it's just like, oh, you're a man, like you don't suffer consequences for this, right? Or I don't know, something like that, right? But yeah, like a lot of people, like especially like the Me Too movement, where like people like basically bump into you and they're like, I was assaulted. Like,
Yeah.
Oh
no,
my.
we need to be clear on what actual assault involves.
More about like the more serious cases where like
Yeah.
a woman can like accuse a man of rape, and even
Yeah.
if there's no evidence, he'll be labeled as a rapist. Like
Yes.
with Brett Kavanaugh,
Yeah.
right? Like this woman accused him of like rape,
Mhm.
but then like it was like back in like college or something. So like the fact that she's choosing to bring it up when he's about to like assume a position,
Yeah.
it just seems like a political move.
Definitely
And then
was.
like everyone started backing her up, and like the whole concept of innocent before proven guilty just got thrown out the window, and he's being labeled as this rapist, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's just so dangerous because like it's like they say that like men are more privileged than women, but literally a woman can just be like ruins a man's whole entire
Yeah,
life and
definitely.
career with like an accusation with
Yeah.
like no solid proof, and like even if he is proven to be innocent, everyone's still gonna think he's a rapist. Because,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the guy that was accused of it. There's gonna be a stigma around that then about that person.
Nowadays, the justice system is not number one. Do you know who is? The media. The media can paint you however they want you to be, and that is what the general public, like most people, 95% of people, is going to see you as, right? So it's a very powerful thing, and they definitely misuse it constantly. And that's what they do to people, right? But then we also need to recognize that like these kind of actions are fueled by spiritual forces, because they don't want him to be in that position, because maybe he really is a very upright official and he can't be bought out by people, that he really will be impartial, and they are fighting really hard to prevent him from being in that position. So that's why all of those things happen, that the Democrats are like, oh great, we have someone who's willingly able to be our spokesperson and accuse him of doing this thing, right? So I'm pretty sure the Democrats paid this lady. Like, shady things are happening, right? So like that was done on purpose, and it's just like at that point it's not like is it fair or unfair for this person, it's just like the media is against him and because of Satan, and yeah.
Like, people can lose their like entire careers for like something they said a while ago, and like okay, like a person says a racist comment, that's like really bad, right? But like if they said it 6 years ago and they're like not the same,
Yeah.
why would you like dig it up and like ruin their whole
Yeah,
career?
they're not the same person, right? That was the argument Kevin Hart gave when he was supposed to be like either the Academy Awards or the Oscar award. He was supposed to be the MC, and they were like, no, he had a racist comment like I don't know how many years ago.
It was like
5-6 years ago, something like that. And so he was removed from that position. He like lost an opportunity as a actor because of that accusation. So and now it gives Kevin Hart a bad name. It's like, oh, he's racist, right? Which is like he himself issued an apology, and it's like, I'm not going to turn the job down because I'm not the same person as that person who said that comment, right? But the public, the media didn't accept that apology, and they still like forced him to remove himself. So, yeah,
I feel
go ahead.
like the racial divide is like really strong because like you remember that whole H&M incident, like
What is that?
okay, so it's so dumb. So like basically H&M like posted a photo of like
a black
African
kid.
American boy in a shirt that had a monkey on it. And then
It said,
people
like,
got
jungle
so
something, and
mad
then
because like
people-
they thought it was racist that they like literally ransacked
Oh my
H&M
God.
stores and like wrecked
Oh
the
my
place.
God! What?
Did you not see that? I was like,
I remember
okay,
that.
the fact, do you really think that H&M would like make a racist message on purpose? Like, how dumb do you think they are? And second of all, why are you like ransacking H&M?
But then,
and,
like any kind of publication is good, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible, but I don't think.
I don't know. They're definitely not being racist. They maybe wasn't racially sensitive enough to realize that some people may interpret it that way. But it's all down to interpretation. To me, that's just a t-shirt graphic. Any person could be wearing that. If I was wearing that, am I calling Chinese people monkeys? Right? Like, It could apply to any. It doesn't just have to be worn by a black person, and then we're calling black people monkeys. Like anyone who's wearing that T-shirt, if you're trying to interpret it that way, you're calling them primitive, right? So like that, it doesn't work, right? Should monkeys just be banned from being on T-shirts because people find it racially offensive? Like that doesn't make sense anymore.
I feel like okay, so like apparently the mother herself spoke up and she told the people to chill.
Yeah.
And like she didn't even like notice or something. But
Yeah.
like even if it was made with racist intentions, I still feel like to go to the point where like you're so mad about a T-shirt that you go into stores and literally like knock the displays down and like crash the windows. Like I just that's like
It's a bit much. Like it's not even affecting you. So,
That's
like,
not a bit much. That is like
Way
actual
too
violence. Actual violence.
你去管干嘛？
But
Yeah, sorry.
you know,
Finish your thought.
yeah. So I'm just saying that like no, I'm summarizing. So you go ahead first.
No, I was gonna move on to a different.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think like this is again prayer fuel. Like this is how messed up people are. They will trash your place for a T-shirt that wasn't intended to be racist in the first place, that the model themselves didn't even think was racist, and just because one person is like, wait, that could be racist, and everyone suddenly like mindlessly goes and destroys things. Like, do you even think for yourselves? Like, I thought for myself. I don't see any racist intention in that. And it could easily be any other minority, right? And then, like, will the Chinese people be like, let's trash the place? Like, right? But it's just because, like, maybe it was during, like, the whole Black Lives Matter era. Was that during that time?
yeah, probably.
A couple years back, right? Yeah,
It was
that
like 2 years ago. I think.
that would be when the
It was
Black Lives
pretty
Matter
old.
was
I
rampant.
feel like it was really
I-
recent. though.
yeah, it was. I think it was
Maybe
a
last
year
year.
ago.
Oh, probably a year.
Last year, sometime in 2018.
Yeah, but I feel like people are just like, they want to make a difference, right? But the things they care about and the action, they're so dumb that the action they think of is just trashing the place. And they just resort to violence because they don't know better. They're not smart enough to argue over people. So they just decide to trash them online and then trash their actual storefronts, right? It's very sad. Yeah.
Can I take it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, I think this is not how, like, how do we fix it? Like, at this point, we can't fix it anymore. That's just the state of the world. So, yeah, when we hear these things, it's just like, we gotta, like, get on our knees and pray hard. Like, and, like, I'm not just saying, like, prayer like we've been praying, like, oh, dear God, please help the people who trashed H&M not be crazy. Like, no, it's not like that. It's like, Lord, we need help. Like the intense kind of prayer. You know what I mean? Like truly like warring in the spirit. So, yeah, and again, that's like one of our goals that we want to become a group that like not only prays for people, that really intercedes. Intercedes means that you're really pushing towards a goal on behalf of someone else, right? So yeah, like I really like that's one of my goals that like I want us to become, is like a group that intercedes on behalf of like our city and our schools and like the state of the world, like the state of our peers and people all around us. Like this is how people act these days, and that's so not okay. And even Christians, sometimes Christians are even worse. You know that Asian group that was super rude to that guy and wanted to kick him out of the group? That was a Christian group, okay?
Oof.
Like that group is worse than the non-Christian group.
Isn't it like also the Westboro Baptist Church? Like they go around
Yeah.
and they like hold up signs like God hates fags.
They are really not
Yeah.
helping our case, okay? So there's people who want to argue for reason, but when we argue for reason, those people come out and they're like, hi, we're super radical right, and then they were like, okay, all of you people are insane. I'm like, no, that is wrong, but you know, the media has messed everything up for us, so now rip, right?
That's fun.
Yeah, for sure. So
Oof. Okay.
yeah, you gotta be careful like what you say out there, but like again, even more careful of like being really sure of like what the Lord wants you to like know and believe and hold as values, and then like really pray against those things. Like if you see it happening around you and you find yourself having to hear a lot of that, just 砍断 it on your own time. You're like, God, the world was loud today, but I just prayed like it doesn't affect me. Just kind of all of those things. Yeah, and then like if you're affected by it, just share it on a group chat.
Yeah.
Just let us know, and then we can all pray together, and then we
Update
can
us.
like also like give you advice if you do need any. But yeah, yeah.
I actually think at this point, America might go into civil war. Like, there's actually
Yeah.
a racial divide.
Yeah, for sure. That's why in the end times America doesn't like really exist. That's what the prophecy is, and I'm just like, yeah, because it's like self-destroying itself right now.
It's okay.
And yeah.
My foot
Definitely,
is probably
so.
white.
Yeah. What else did you want to bring
Oh,
up?
I was gonna say like, because we were talking about like sensitivity and stuff.
Mhm.
Like, to what point is political correctness like okay? Because like some part of it is just like to be more respectful.
Yeah.
But then sometimes they go overboard a bit,
It's
With
constantly
stuff.
now, not
So-
sometimes.
or like constantly.
Yeah. Right
so,
now it's
Like, to
constantly.
what point is it okay, and like to what point is it like completely unnecessary?
I think the whole whatever's labeled political correctness, this is a spirit we need to kanduan, like in the spiritual realm. Like when we were praying in Emerge, we actually prayed against political correctness, because the whole political correctness is like it creates a racial divide, right? Because it includes things like cultural appropriation. That is so triggering. I would love if some beautiful other race person wore a Chinese dress and made it look beautiful. I would celebrate that. Yet that girl was like heavily attacked online.
Oh, yeah.
Why? I love that you love my culture. It looks better on you than it does on me, so you should wear it, right? Like, I don't understand why people are mad about it. So, like, political correctness, this whole, like, social justice, gender, identity politics, all of this is, like, the spirits are, like, heavily controlling all of these things. So, political correctness, can you give me an example? So maybe I can...
Like, let me think.
Is your dad here?
But I can just, like, stay for political correctness. I'm interested in,
Like, if we call, like, they say that you shouldn't call, like, indigenous people, like, let's say Indians, for example.
Mm.
We call them like, indigenous people instead. Like, that's fine, right? But then I guess when it comes to stuff like, what about, like, when you call, like, I don't know, like, disabled people, like, you're not allowed to say that anymore or something. It's, I forgot what it was called, like, a diverse ability or something weird like that. Or, like, you're not allowed to say, like, handicap and, like, stuff like that. I forgot.
Apparently in
it
US
was, it was really weird.
Why don't they just ban all the race words too? Then racism would end.
yeah.
So, like, I don't know.
Handicapped
I guess
people.
to some extent it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know.
I don't think that's necessary at all, because you can use those are descriptive words to describe things that are factual, right? If you're not using this factual word to discriminate or to hurt this person, I don't think it's wrong to use that word, because it just describes something that is. If you're using this to discriminate against the people or detract from like all disabled people are stupid or they are less good. Bye, Naya. Good night. Oh, Naya, can we meet on Sunday?
Oh, I need to ask.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay, update me and then let me know what time. It can be during church time. Yeah, I can skip church.
Excuse me?
Okay, good night. Yeah, of course. Good thing. Okay, I'm just kidding. Sam's his sermon's like hit and miss sometimes. Like sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's just like I don't know what you're saying. Okay, yes, Isaiah.
Apparently in US ministers, teachers aren't allowed to say the word like guys come inside because it's excluding other genders.
Okay, that is not okay. That is extremism.
That's way
Yo,
too
man,
much.
that's just how people have been saying it for years and years.
Yeah.
No one got triggered about it until now. Like,
I would love to sing in all thy sons command. Like I will emphasize that
I
word
will
as hard as
always
I
sing it like
in all thy
that.
sons command.
Is it?
Yeah, in all of us command.
That just
It's trash. It
bad.
sounds
Sounds
gross.
good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so yeah, like I think if you're not using it
Too
to
many liquids.
hurt someone or using it in a negative way, like I don't think those words should be banned. They're just like if you want to refer to a friend like, hey, like my friend has this disability. Like it's just a word, right?
No,
Like
disability is fine. I've heard people use it all
Yeah.
the time. But
I have the disability to play sports. Yeah, no, that would be insensitive use of that word because it's not actually a disability. It's just like
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
feel
good at
like
it.
By banning it, they give
Yeah.
it like a negative like,
Mm,
connotation
mhm,
or whatever that
mhm.
fancy word is. Yeah.
I don't think that's necessary. Like, and the thing is, like, we would never use it in a way that's not out of love, right? So, I don't think we would get in trouble if we did end up using the word. Melissa, who are you calling disabled?
It's no one.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but like,
I feel like sometimes people just want to find reasons to attack you.
yeah, true.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have enough love. Y'all need Jesus.
I know. I know. Just like everything that you feel that is wrong, it probably is. Because the world is that messed up. And yeah, I think just think about it in the way of like, if I was doing this out of love and like I genuinely cared about this person, what would be the resulting action from that, right? And that's just a really like rule of thumb way to like gauge what you should do in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I think all of political correctness is just a no for me. It's
Trash.
just
Yep. Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like what happened in that whole debate and then them ending up like banning or not banning but like basically almost banning that guy. Like the guy like whined to the group, like the person who made the group, and then the person was like setting ground rules for the group. And it's like, first you need to this, and second you need to this. Third, if you're not Asian, then you need to this, right? So I feel like that's a really small like model of what's happening in our society on a bigger scale where they find people ridiculing people who are disabled. So then the government or the teachers or the education system decide to release like rules that are like, we now can't use this word because some people misused it, right? But it is too extra because not everyone misuses it. And now, like I do agree by making these rules, you're stigmatizing them, right, and giving it a negative connotation where it didn't need to be like that before. So essentially, the more banning, the more rules that you add, the more power you give to like toxic behavior, the more toxic things you create. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah. I still think White Chicks is a hilarious movie. They would be murdered if they made that movie now.
Those actors
Yeah.
will not be booked
So
ever
funny,
again.
though. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think people just need to stop.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe you should stop.
That's
Yeah,
conclusion.
but I'm like waiting for like when we can have an evening where we're just like, you know, praying for
You
all
know
of
how
these
Emerge
things.
has like Emerge hoodies? I've seen your eyes.
Emerge what?
Never mind.
Hoodies.
Like
Oh,
like,
hoodies, yeah.
We should make a hoodie called "Don't Need Jesus" on it. No.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know how well that's gonna go
Yeah.
down
People
with
get
people.
so triggered if they see
I
that
know,
in public.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
Excuse me.
No, we can just think that.
Yeah.
We'll
Think
just
it very
make
hard.
you one, Isaiah.
Okay. And we're after like
See how
read
You're like,
this.
no, show it to your mom. Mom, 你看我在这里。
A king size blanket that says "Y'all need Jesus."
Bro, I still haven't got. Oh, I need to go get my king size Freddy blanket.
Isaiah wants a king size blanket.
Yeah, but I want to like, now that we've discussed it, and now we kind of know that like the world's super messed up. Like now, the next action to take is like we need to have a prayer night where we're like praying for these things, right? But yeah, I don't know, like, should we do it like soon, or like should we kind of like do our other stuff a little bit more before we get into this? Yeah, it depends.
Always good time to pray.
Nah,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, it depends how you guys feel too. If you guys feel led to like, yeah, we really want to pray for these things, like we like very passionately like want to pray for
So,
these
like,
things.
I mean, like, we have done, like, a prayer session, but, like, we still haven't really gone really into how to, like, you know, like, pray together as, like, a group. So maybe we should wait a little bit.
Yeah, because what I gave you guys is literally a crash course. Yeah.
That was
Yeah, that's fair.
That was like a warm up, like a
Yeah, that's fair.
I think you know how like we've been delaying doing worship because
Yes.
we need to get a group into that right mindset
Yeah.
first. I feel like maybe our group needs to get a bit more into that mindset that we're trying to aim for,
Yeah.
rather than just we're praying for the right things, but
Yeah.
we're like the intent is kind of there, but like our spirit isn't there. You know,
I
I feel
agree.
like it might
I
be a
agree
bit more
with that.
effective if our spirit's there as well.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I feel like we might just be blindly praying, even though we have the correct intent and we're saying
Yeah.
the right stuff. If our spirit's not there, then
Yeah.
we don't know how much it can actually do. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think like I would love for us to like all of us to be very in tune with like the prophetic stuff. So like you often see like pictures and stuff, but it's mostly like for our group, like in the context of like worship, and it's like, oh, this is what I saw, and then like, you know, I can like release that blessing over the group kind of thing, or like, oh, you know, we're still a little bit closed right now, so we need to like open up more. Kind of, it's still relatively like within the group, but I would love if we can like actively start receiving for like things outside of our group as well. For example, we're praying towards like schools and stuff, and we see pictures and we receive words like for our city. Like, how cool would that be, right? Like, I think that would be super cool. Yeah, like even myself, like I only receive stuff that I ask about, right? And like so far I've just been praying for like our group meetings, like our people within our group, and I receive stuff for that, but I haven't really like specifically tried to receive for like other things. So I think that's really cool. But I do agree that like I think a lot of us are tapping into it, but not everyone yet. So I would love to see kind of everyone being more spiritually open. Yeah, and I think it would definitely be easier, and we can build the energy a lot. But yeah, have more.
Oh, okay. Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
prophetic dancing.
Yeah. And like prophetic painting, like that's why I want to like do that, because I know Angela like and Naya, like they really love doing the arts, and like, you know, how cool would it be if they like receive a picture while we're worshiping and they just paint it out.
Like
And
those
I'll have
people
the other
at
side for you.
merch.
yeah, exactly. And you know, like maybe God even tells them who it's for. Maybe it's not even
Take your fork.
our group or our church. Maybe it's supposed to be someone from their school, right? And maybe they give that painting to someone at their school, and they can introduce the gospel through art. And how crazy is that, right? Because like that art is art. Art is never like
It has a source.
Art is never a dollar store object.
yeah, but it's never like by giving someone a piece of art, you're not pushing a religion down their throat, you know? But it could really minister to them in a way that might be even better than preaching the gospel to them. So, yeah, that's why like I think like all of these artistic like functions, songs, artwork, like all of these creative things, like they are things that really speak to our generation. So I think we should definitely tap into that. But yeah, so we're still kind of like in the waiting, like preparing period.
It's a prophetic rap.
Yeah, but we gotta like pray for each other too, because it's like, hey, we all want to be on the same page. We all want to grow together, right? So if someone's kind of like feels a little bit behind or feels like shyer to like share and stuff, then we should just try to help them feel more comfortable and like pray for them more. Yeah, Melissa, feel more comfortable, please.
Melissa, don't worry. Be quiet.
And just put the mic right here. You did very good yesterday. Good job. But yeah, do you want to close in prayer?
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Jesus, for bringing us all together today. Thank you, God, for just a good discussion amongst ourselves and for allowing everyone to keep a cool head during these conversations, God. And I just pray that, God, we keep all these problems that are going on in this world in mind, and that, yeah, we realize that the world is really loud right now. And I pray that you help us you motivate us, like we get the motivation to want to pray for these problems on a day-to-day basis, God, and that you help us prophesy over the future of our country, other countries, and just our city, God. And I pray that, whenever we deal with any of these situations, God, that we think of it first as how would you deal with this situation, and we don't just react with our emotions, but we react with our spirit first.
Yeah.
And yeah, God, just in your name I pray.
Amen. Amen.